IVM.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawalla, your peak performance coach, life coach, emotional intelligence practitioner, and NLP practitioner. I'm also the founder of Abso Expertise Unique, and my organization constantly aims at building leaders across continents. After having worked with so many dynamic business honchos, entrepreneurs, startups, CEOs, management gurus, parents, and student communities worldwide, I am convinced that every individual has unleashed potential. And all we really need to do is realize it. Watch the magic unfold, enhance quality of life, relationships, and professions. On my show, be ready for some riveting conversations with inspirational people, snippets, stories, and much more. So here I am on this exceptional journey to find empowerment and inspiration anywhere I can. Come join me on this breathtaking path of self-realization, potential maximization, positivity, and most of all, embrace your inner power. You are on your way to empowering yourselves. Welcome to the Empowering Series with Zarina Poonawalla. On today's episode, I'm in conversation with a thought leader, a humanitarian, a visionary with over 3 decades of experience in rural transformation and development, the Secretary General of SOS Children's Villages of India. Please welcome Mr. Sudarshan Suchi. Hello, Sudarshan, how are you?
Hi, Zarina. Thank you. I'm rushing off to the mirror to just check if it's me you were
The same person.
describing. Yes.
Absolutely. I've been
Uh,
reading all about you, and you definitely are quite the thought leader. And I couldn't think of better words to describe you. You know, you've got the vision.
I'm so grateful. I've done more than my share of mistakes in life and learned from them.
No, I think we all make mistakes and learn, but all the mistakes you are learning from are quite inspirational. That's what I have to say to you.
Thank you.
So it's okay if I call you Sudarshan, right? Because now
Of
that
course.
I have given you all these really strong adjectives, I
Hmm.
thought maybe I should call you Mr. Suchi.
No, I mean, my friends, which includes you, call me Sudarshan.
How sweet. Thank you. All right. So, Sudarshan, thanks for joining me. And I'd love to know how the past few months have been turning out for you.
So, past few months, I mean, there are some words actually which are in currency: social distancing, new normal, and digital connectivity, etc. But for me, frankly, within the difference, life has been same. In the sense, I look at uncertainties as a part of the journey, and I've been a very avid mountaineer, and I love the suspense that every turn in the hill holds for you. A new valley opens up, a new degree of difficulty emerges. Last few months have been very similar. I just have two grouses that somehow physical distancing has got labeled as social distancing, and the world has grown smaller. I mean, I have been distant from my team physically, but I've been more connected with them more frequently and longer in this period than ever before. We have been pushed at critical situations, but it has got me to discover how many wonderful people are there who all step out to reduce and mitigate that difficulty. So last few months have been months of discovery, reassurance, resilience, confidence, and I would say some level of revival in goodness of humanity in the most difficult times.
That is so exquisitely put in already, Sudarshan. Thank you. I think you're absolutely right. The words, the semantics that are being used are sort of confusing. And social distancing instead of physical distancing, absolutely right on that one. And yes, pretty much people have started becoming closer to each other, although there is a lot of distance right now. So how are you managing work, and please tell us about this journey with SOS, because it is such a fascinating and heartwarming story. We'd love to know about the entire journey so far.
Actually, very true. I mean, I am inspired. It all happened when I was moving around the country looking at various things happening around. One of my friends pushed me to visit one of the children's villages, and until then I had no idea what am I in for. So once I went there, I came across one of the most powerful and yet beautiful models of alternate child care at the same time. And this was a model where a mother was taking care of six, seven children under her roof for their life journey at the same time. And as I dug deeper into it, I found that this whole model had evolved somewhere around World War One time in Austria, where one such child who had lost parental care was given care and shelter by a lady who took him through his journeys of life for him to become one of the most successful doctors in Austria that time. And his way of repaying back for that was to create what's today known as SOS Children's Villages. And this, from becoming one home for a group of 10, 12 kids to find a safe haven, it's become a movement across the world where today 136 countries, including India, follow this model. India, of course, being the biggest such engagement with 7,000 children under the roof, under the care of about 500 women who dedicated themselves as mothers to these parentless children as a lifetime's journey. And what I experienced was looking at the power of love and care, what magic it can weave. And you walk into that home and you can't but come out transformed. So that's to cut the long story short. After I joined SOS Children's Villages some 9 months ago, and 9 months is what it takes a new child to be born. And I can safely tell you that I am having a feeling of being born again. SOS is all about love, care, sharing, and relationship to provide a safe home for the children who are in need. And it's something where it's a journey of for the children, of the children, and in a way the whole identity of SOS is by the children. So it's a very self-fulfilling journey, Zarina.
Sudarshan, this is absolutely stirring, and it kind of touches you, the whole idea of somebody starting this movement and somehow going all across the world,
Hmm.
and you being part of this, and just crossing this village and seeing a certain development or a structure and feeling so connected to it, right?
Yeah.
How was that moment, and how did that change you?
So 2020 is all about diversity, uncertainty, different people across the country and world pulling in different directions. And in that time, I find SOS Children's Villages literally as an oasis in this larger desert. And I've been amazed that there are children's villages from Srinagar in Kashmir to Cochin in Kerala, from Bhuj in extreme west of Gujarat to Shillong in extreme east, all
Hmm.
caste, religions, regions, color, creed, in every manner, both genders. There are children of all kind, all united with love and care. And I think there could be no better representation of the future of India as one integrated country in its diversity than what is represented under the roof of SOS. Under one roof, many mothers have been able to bring children with diversity of different kinds. And not just all this, Zarina, I must mention that we also have special needs children. So it's an integration of everybody and all kinds. I mean, anybody who needs parental care and love, those are the children who've been embraced happily. And what I have learned from all that is the power of love can really transcend all else. That's been the most formidable contribution and takeaway for me in this time with SOS Children's Villages.
The whole journey sounds heart-rending in for you, and I'm sure everyone connected to it as well. So, being able to work with SOS typically, Sudarshan, how should one go about it? I mean, if somebody wants to associate themselves with SOS, somebody wants to help orphan children, how should one possibly choose that path?
So, of course, we are an organization engaged in direct implementation. So, we have a huge team of around 800 to 1000 plus professionals, people
Mm-hmm.
having a willingness and a missionary zeal to dedicate themselves to work with children, adolescent, and youth in varying forms are, of course, people who will always be welcome, but there are many other ways in which people could engage. We are, in fact, now running something called a mentoring program where we are also exploring a lot of adults from different walks of life to engage with our children for career guidance, counseling. Sometimes just a willing ear to listen to people, to the mothers, to the children, just lending an ear to their unwinding themselves, and then sports, and then uh, I mean, there is a plurality of approaches. So I think love, care, and connecting, there is nothing which is like enough. So there is space for everybody to contribute in every way. Somebody who may like to teach drawing could come and engage with some children who love learning drawing. Somebody else, in fact, we have two girls, Archana and Chetana, twins, who came to SOS village in Bangalore when they were 3 years old. They are 28 now, recognized by Indian Council of Cultural Research as a part of brand ambassadors of India as excellent Bharatnatyam dancers. They have evolved,
Wow.
yeah, because somebody connected, somebody took time out to spend with them to teach them Bharatnatyam. Whoever did that did it to two children. These two children have now taught more than 200 children. So
That is so beautiful. That is amazing. People actually can really learn something from this.
true. It's a multiplier effect, I mean, the power of love and of connecting. I can't tire speaking about it. The power of it. It can have a transformational. It's a therapeutic actually.
It is. It is absolutely, Sudarshan. In fact, that was my next question
Mm,
in terms of, the fact that if people want to join in. So, if I have the
mm,
ability to probably counsel or coach or
mm,
help somebody through that
mm.
procedure. So how should people connect with you? How should people make sure that they can actually come and help these kids or help the moms? Because naturally, even
Yes,
parenting is very
yes,
different for different people, right?
yes, yes.
And being sensitive with orphaned kids or abandoned kids and making sure that they are taking the right path, because there could be a lot of difficulty or childhood traumas one could have faced, and dealing with all of that one needs to be equipped, I am assuming.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think though most mothers are natural, the maternal care comes to them naturally, but they are like all other mothers, and the children are like any other children in the society, where all what is our society is facing with as challenges, we also face. And I think what you mentioned about life skills, see, our responsibility is double. First is providing parental care and an engagement like that. Second is, the onus on us is greater in terms of ensuring that the children transcend as self reliant good citizens of the country. So, we on one side need to be able to equip them with the right moral fiber and the value or the stability in mind, as much as an employability skill. So both the things have to be balanced, and people like you, Zarina, could make life-changing contribution, because I mean, like any other parents, we also struggle to naturally recognize each child's individual needs and then cope up. I mean, I'm a parent to two children, and I find it so difficult having handled them, and with the best of resources backing me. And it's amazing to look at a mother taking care at any given time, seven to eight children under her roof. So I think any support in any way which can enhance her mothering capacities or capacities actually to cope up with the modern world and its changing, context, that would be very welcome.
Absolutely. Sudarshan, I'm definitely going to get in touch with you for this because I'd love to associate with good causes. And this is such a wonderful cause that There is no way that I'd keep myself away from it. So that's one of the reasons I asked you actually. It was personally
Absolutely.
interesting to me.
No, you wouldn't have to worry because I am going to reach out to you and not let go, because every resource, every drop fills the ocean for us. And for all others who are listening, you asked me, we could be spotted on the Facebook, SOS Children's Villages of India, on the Instagram or LinkedIn, depending on which generation one is from. And also, we have a website, SOS Children's Villages of India.org, and any of these places. And I would be very happy to personally connect. I mean, not just abstract from a distance, but I could be reached out and I would be very happy to respond. Every human being is valuable to us.
That's amazing. I'm pretty sure that we'll have a couple of people reaching out to you. And I'm also sure that you have some wonderful stories in your fold, just like the two little girls who learned Bharatnatyam
Yeah,
and went on to make you and the country proud. So, could you share some more stories for us,
yeah.
with
So
us rather?
yes, of course. In fact, one of the persons, I got a random call 4 5 days ago from a person called Ankur, and he introduced himself as Ankur. He said, "Hello, uncle. How are you? What going on? I'm so happy you're there. Do you know who I am?" I said, "I'm sorry." He said, "I'm 35 years old and I'm a settled child from SOS Children's Village in Varanasi. I'm a qualified chartered accountant and I have trotted the globe now. I've been with the leading organizations in the world, the leading consulting organizations. And I was one of the lead accountants in Satyam context. And so he mentioned all this, and I was in awe absolutely. And he called me to say that I wanted to reach out to you to ask you what can I do, how can I be of help, and especially in this current difficult situation. Is that I am sponsoring many children, I follow up, I mentor, but is there something more I can do? There is nothing that is enough. So he's one of the top persons in my mind. And then we have another child, Aditya Charegaonkar. He comes from Pune. He's pursuing his PhD in Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai. It is again one of very formidable, renowned institution. But more than that, he has also started a whole movement around children from various institutions who've been settled in the world from various journeys, who haven't had the good fortune of having safe parental care and have been in alternate care of one kind or other. He has integrated all under one roof. And a couple of most inspiring stories. One is of a boy called Rakesh, and Rakesh is from IIT Mumbai, I think. And Rakesh actually did his journey. He grew up in Vishakhapatnam SOS Children's Village, and then he went into IIT and then worked with leading firms in America and across India. Made good, and one of his first ways of paying a tribute back is that he set up a home where children who have graduated and settling into the world, who ever need any temporary transitory facility while they are hopping from a job to another, and he builds special employability skills for children, offers all the children like that. And so he's Rakesh is another person who's like my, I call them as my gurus. And then there's this woman, and Zarina, I recommend very highly because she's very close by to you, Nalini. Nalini
Okay.
in SOS Children's Village, Pune, and she went through her own challenging journey in life, raises two kids, has her own livelihood. But what she's done is she took her mother in her old age, the mother who brought her up in SOS Children's Village, to provide her a stable home. And in the process, she realized there must be many old, destitute women crying for a home or requiring some support. So in tribute to her mother, she's created a old age home for women, for single women who are in need of any support. This is on the outskirts of Pune, and Nalini is the girl.
Wow.
So another fabulous, yes. Then there is a boy called Karthik, who is a police inspector in Mumbai. He was stuck with COVID because he was in the front line serving and helping in the most critical days. And he was stuck with COVID, and then he recovered from that. He was quarantined for 15 days. His journey of recovery took 1 month. And, I mean, I called him up to check on him and saying whether he needs anything or whether we can help. He said, "Nahi, nahi, I am in a hurry. Actually, I need to get back because the workers are needed out there in the front, and I can't afford too much time on myself. I've got to get back to work." So I think, I mean, amazing children, their sense of morality, their sense of dedication, duty, and resilience. These are some of the children, and the list goes on. I mean, I could just, go on and on with them.
Sudarshan, these journeys sound so miraculous.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best uses of the phrase, as you sow, so shall you reap,
Yes.
goes to you guys, because the fact that all of them are doing so well and they're coming back and reaching out to society and trying to contribute comes from the fact that y'all, as a community as a whole, have given such lovely values and such a nice way of uh, raising these kids who probably would not have known many of these things had they not been in the right hands.
Hmm. Actually, very true what you said, but I think we have learned a lot. We are a living organization, so to say that way. That we have been constantly on a learning and evolution curve because we are driven by a motto of nothing but the best for our children. We are almost like that average Indian, lower middle to middle class family where you want every child to become an engineer, doctor, successful, employed, good human being, and perfect. So you once you visit some of our children's villages, you'll find our mothers are similarly hustling and bustling with activity. There is some carom board going on, some tuition, some this, some that. It's amazing. It's electrifying actually. That that determination that my child has to become something. I met a lady. I mean, one of the older women called Kiranji. She is now 90, and when I was meeting her, I said, "How was your journey and how many children you have?" So she said, "I have 35 children, 15 are married, and I have 20 grandchildren." And then she says, "Lucky on her birthday, this is the grandchildren, likes only laddu, so and so likes halwa, so and so's birthday is July, I have to visit there." I mean, one of the busiest persons in the world I saw. I mean, that mother's calendar was just awesome, and her smile was very infectious. A very proud, content woman at that.
Because she has raised so many kids and she's still looking forward to all the grandchildren, and there must be some amount of satisfaction and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful feeling. I'm pretty sure that all people who associate with SOS Children's Villages and associate with you have this feeling, because you sound like somebody who has this very beautiful and compassionate vibe, you know. So, what are the qualities one requires to be able to, in a very fast moving world, people are really
Mm.
slightly, I would say, hard hearted sometimes, Sudarshan. So you
Yeah,
don't always get the right people around, and it's
true.
nice to see this side and this perspective of life. It's very altruistic. So, what are the qualities that you see or you find in general missing in people these days, which one should start working on or one should consider again in their lives?
Yeah, so first, Zarina, I would kind of contradict or challenge you. I think I'm not altruistic. I'm one of the most selfish persons, and I would like everybody to be very selfish in the sense we need to know what are we in there for, what do we get out of it, and the
True.
amount of love that I get, it's like it's intoxicating. I mean, it drives me like anything. Coming to the qualities you were asking for, I think one of the things that's a big challenge in today's world is the world is churning out a lot of managers, a lot of people who do Excel driven kind of tasks. Things start, things end, and when the end comes, it's abrupt, and people are looking clinically at things. And journey of life is something much more than that. I think we need people who will learn to listen and who can then listen to learn. I would like people who do a journey, let's say a trekking journey for the path rather than for the peak, so that they don't forget to enjoy the journey. I mean, I loved bringing up my two kids, and I think loving the just the process of the children being brought up and celebrating it, and also factoring in shortcomings and mistakes as a part of life. I think seeking perfection and seeking clinical perfection robs us out of a basic happiness and a basic lightness of joy of life. So I think those are things. I mean, so I would look at softer skills more. I mean, expertises of anything, I would say, almost robs people from simply being. So I would like those kind of context. And then I would say one another skill that on a bad day, how do we stand up? Do we remember and in support of each other? And that really counts. That on all good days, everybody is together. But when something doesn't work, how do we respond? I would look at people do their best at that time. And last 3 months, Zarina has proved that I've got such a wonderful family of team. Most of them have put themselves as second to the larger cause. They've come good. They've really come good. So yeah.
No, that is wonderfully put because I mean, I do notice amongst us that you're right about the whole mechanical or robotic format of life and the softer skills. In fact, Sudarshan, I usually tell people in a session, and especially if somebody is doing communication, that the life skills or the skills that you have in your communication or your compassion or empathy, they're not your soft skills actually. Those
Mm.
are your power skills. Those
Mm.
are the skills that build you. Those are your foundation. So it's not something that you must even consider
Mm.
as soft and passing and complementary to other things. It's actually the base and the foundation and the structure of your being. So it is so important to highlight that point like you've just done. So yes, I completely agree to that. Totally do.
Thank you.
Where all are we located in India, and how do we possibly, let's say, how does it typically work in SOS in terms of there's a particular village? What are the
Yeah.
activities that take place?
Okay.
What really is
S-
happening? Because you
Okay.
spoke about the hustle and
Yeah.
bustle, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
I
the
got
nuts
curious.
and yeah, no, no. So the nuts and bolts are there are 32 such villages across the country. Like
Hmm.
and in 32 I mean, so when we say village, it's a group of houses. It's like a almost like a typical housing society with 15, 20 families, mother headed families with 7, 8 children. So one children's village typically would have 150 to 200 plus children in a radius of just let's say 3 acres compact society. And these villages spread, like I said, across 22 states in the country, and Srinagar right on top, Jammu, then UP, then East Assam, and then Shillong, Kolkata, so Bihar, Odisha. So we're there almost across the country everywhere. Very near Bombay, where you are, Pune, Latur, and Alibag are three of the children's villages. So a typical children's village with this 200 kids would have 15 to 20 mothers who run their household, and there would be a team of 5 6 people who support them. So if you just close your eyes for a moment and go back to wherever you stay, Zarina, or probably right now, I mean, if you are in a lockdown period working from home, and if you just close your ears and listen around, and hopefully, I hope there are voices of kids, so there'll be somebody shouting somewhere, some fight, some sports or something or other going on, some music or some exchanges, some Cartoon Network sound and something else. So the children's village works like another clockwork thing. So when I go and visit, morning 6:30, I see some of them playing some sports games, exercise. Some of the mothers harried and shouting to get them ready for schools. So breakfast, school, packing, bag packing, this, that. And then around 7:30, 7:45, depending on which part of the country, you see mothers again harried dragging the children to catch the school bus at the gate or something. I'm sure it's a scene I'm describing around your household also, wherever you are. And
Yes,
it
yes.
just,
I think this is a typical household scene for
yes,
every house with kids, right?
yes. The only difference is within a limited compound, you see, 200 odd children. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the most amazing part is you see repeatedly very smiling, happy, highly energetic children just running crisscross around and full of hope and joy. The other thing which is very consistent across children's villages, which I spot, which I just love seeing, is the elder siblings taking care, protective of the younger sibling. So you see, so a couple of the very junior class kids, their hands being held by the senior one and taken carefully, guarded, and you know, so like that. So then there's a peace time between around 8:30 to about 2 o'clock. Then between 2 to 3:30 again there is chaos of children coming, and then when you walk into a children's house around that time, the mothers are busy in the kitchen quickly putting a meal together and everything, and then shouting that keep your bag in the place, get those clothes organized, change into home clothes from uniform, quickly finish, don't keep watching cartoon, get back to the, now there's a tuition time, homework completing time, and so like that it goes on. So there is a system and a method, and yet there is a home that is functional, and it's that atmosphere which is electrifying, with 20 such homes in one place concentrated.
I can only imagine the hustle and bustle, but
Yes, yes,
it's very adorable. And also the
yes,
sibling aspect that you mentioned, I think that kind of,
yes.
uh, uh, feeling that security and feeling that
Hmm.
connection with somebody is so important. So yes, it's
Hmm.
quite adorable, and it also sounds like a perfect regular home with just a lot of
Yes,
children and a lot of moms.
yes, yes, very true. It is, I mean, the moms are as fierce as any mother in the world, nothing, no second to anybody. Yeah,
That's enduring. That's
yeah,
absolutely enduring. I
yeah.
want to ask you this one
Mm,
personal question, Sudarshan, because from the
mm,
beginning of our conversation, you
mm.
have mentioned the word love.
Yes.
And I would love to know your definition of how you kind of describe this word and this feeling,
Mm.
as most people around us have different thoughts on this particular word. So I'd love to know your thought on
So,
this word love.
yeah. So, you caught me on the wrong foot on that. Let me let me attempt. I think first of all, in love, you don't feel alone. You constantly have this feeling of thinking about people and feeling good and knowing that they are thinking about you and you feel good with that. And the second thing is it's never encroaching or suppressing. It grows wonderfully, multiplies, and has a magical effect in the sense that when you know you are loved, I think you feel infinitely brave to to face any situations. And I think love is a feeling about which is which sees in action translating as caring, sharing, and thinking, and belonging, and in every sense, and generosity. These are the words that come to me when I think of love. And you smile, when you imagine that, the idea of love, it brings a smile in your face. I mean, as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about what do I love, whom do I love, and it just bringing a warm smile on my face, thinking of all. Yeah.
I didn't catch you on the wrong foot at all. I think you gave us such a holistic answer, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people must be smiling listening to your answer because it truly describes and depicts that feeling. Because irrespective of the relationship, I think love is all the things you mentioned, and So yeah, I think you were prepared for this answer, Sudarshan. I didn't catch you. Anyhow.
Thank you. Yeah. Can I share a story with you, something
Yes,
personal?
yes, please. Please, would love that. Do tell.
So I am 54 and so is my wife. We have two children, a son 26 and a daughter 20. And what I'm sharing with you is something personal and yet something very fiercely I'm proud of, and it's not a secret.
Mm-hmm.
So my son is biological and my daughter is adoptive. So she came into our house when she was about 10, 15 days old. And we had all kind of doubts about this question which you asked me about love, whether it could get divided, whether it could get reduced. Can there be an arithmetic calculation of love being equal? And how does it all happen? And how does the caring and sharing happen? I'm talking 20 years after this experience that the love in our household has multiplied 1,000 times. And if there was a single integrating factor of the family, it's my daughter, not just the immediate four of us, but an extended family of my parents, my siblings, my wife's parents, and all others. There is this thing, and we have never in these 20 years felt love ever being divided. I mean, it's still growing and multiplied. So from two, I now have 6,500 kids I'm in love with, and who equally bounce back the love. So it's been amazing. I mean, but it was a learning. There was a worry at a time, and there were thoughts that how does it happen? And I found that Excel has no role in life and love. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. It goes on all directions.
This is so incredible. I'm kind of touched that you chose to share the story with us. Thank you so much, Sudarshan. And I just asked you that question out of the blue because I realized that you have so much passion. When you use the word love, when you use the word family or togetherness or the moms or that relationship in a family. So I just felt like asking you that question. But now I know the meaning of that word for you and how it actually has touched you. So thank you for sharing this particular piece with us. That's very kind of you, and I'm sure that's also kind of riveting for everybody to listen to. And of course, I wouldn't say it's a noble cause or not a noble cause. Entirely a human decision, and it's a decision of two people.
Very selfish,
Yes.
and very
So this time I'm not calling you
fulfilling.
altruist.
No, no,
But
absolutely.
it is more than just being selfish. I think the idea of the kind of growth one can have and the kind of ecosystem you create for your family, irrespective of how you're connected biologically or not, is very important, and it can be a challenge. So now that you mentioned it, if you don't mind me asking,
No.
how should people who've probably adopted kids or
Mm,
or probably are torn
mm.
sometimes apart between this feeling of having their adopted child and their biological child, how should they go about and learn from this, and how should they multiply the love in their house just like you have?
I think we should let our heart rule our head, and you need to just let go and absorb as things get reciprocated, because love is indeed very powerful. And my own learning has been that it's certainly not necessarily and this thing genetic. It is not. It's there around in the air. And one of the most amazing things I found is people normally say that your child is behaving like so and so, like so and so, this is how you used to behave in childhood. I tell you,
Mm-hmm.
amazingly, this happens with both the kids. So certainly there is, it's not to do with the science, but it's got to do with the air around you. So I would recommend to people, in terms of actually to trust the heart and follow the heart, the path of the heart, in terms of just being natural. I mean, not take anything like a task, or organizing it in the mind in terms of anything clinical. It needs to come naturally, spontaneously. And I think there's nothing, no wrong method in it. Each one of us is an original as a parent and finds our own method. But we need to have a very strong self belief in in this whole process, that you need to be hard when you need to be hard, you need to be soft, you shouldn't be hard. And I think one shouldn't be prone to excesses. Moderation certainly helps in anything, in as a larger approach to life. And otherwise, Zarina, I don't have any other secret formula which I could reveal to people. Just give a hug to them if we meet. I mean, that's the best I could do.
This is probably one of the best piece of advice we've had, and allow yourself to naturally flow with the whole situation, your relationships, and create your own equation. So that is the secret in itself, Sudarshan. So thanks for sharing that with us. So now we're coming to your last question. So Sudarshan, anything you want to ask me?
Yeah, Zarina, I actually, I mean, like you said, even I got to know about you in terms of what you do and life. I just wanted to ask you. So there are children and there are children. So those who are able to express is very easy to respond to. Those who are not able to express and those who are introvert by nature, I mean, that's where it's a big challenge. So that's one question that I have. Second question is, as a whole system, so we have 6,500 children. There are considerable number of children who are adolescent girls and adolescent boys, and that's a very challenging time for mothers. What could we do to help them cope up and do their best? I have a couple of more things, but these two immediately come to my mind.
Uh, all right. Very interesting questions, actually. Not something I've answered before. And so I think the fact, Sudarshan, that some kids are slightly shy or reserved or introvert in their early years. One of the important things to understand here is for the mothers, because we have always had stereotypes about how children are, and then how they're going to grow up to be. Because if a child is good with public speaking, you expect or imagine that they're confident, and if a child is not so, or slightly introvert and shies away from certain activities or conversations, we assume that they're not very confident. But that's not how it works anymore. Considering we've got so much technology and things like that, there are a lot of times when people are caught in a situation where there's you're good with messaging or you're good with WhatsApp, but in person you're different, and then you're different in person, you're better in person, but you're not good with messaging or on a call, because we have so many different ways of communication as we're growing. So one of the things that I think mothers will probably have to work on in this situation is not to push the child and to avoid any kind of comparison, because there are a lot of kids, I'm
Mm,
believing,
mm,
around each other. So a good way to start off is making sure that there is no comparison between any children, ones who are probably more talkative compared to the others, because kids can be introvert, and maybe we should allow them to be okay with that feeling until and unless they're okay to open up. But the minute we make that feeling a taboo, or that part of their personality trait, as in calling it wrong or calling it something that is not going to be good for them in the future, see, that kind of creates an undervalue,
mm,
and the self worth gets affected. So, a good way to start off is making sure that there is no comparison between two kids of any sort, and making sure that introvert or reserved children are also given the same thought process, that it's okay to be like that. All right, you can open up, but make sure that you
mm,
do open up. You should have one or two people whom you can open up to, have one or two friends that you can talk to, if not too many. Right.
mm,
So I think it's just something that should be more acceptable in society, and then those kind of kids don't think of being reserved and introvert as a weakness, being
mm,
shy as a weakness. They can
mm,
use it to their strength somewhere, and then they can use their confidence level in a certain manner in communication and other things somewhere else. So I
mm.
guess that would be my kind of advice on that
Yeah,
front.
yeah. I think something to think about, food for thought in that sense. I mean,
Yeah.
really. And yeah, the other thing which was purely for me as a person, I
Yes.
mean, there are times when I personally can, I mean, I represent the whole idea and its strength. I mean, when I'm in my domain with public, with my team and others, and I need to be, I mean, I struggle between demonstrating my vulnerability when I am, and wanting to demonstrate I'm a superhuman. I'm always in a conflict. I have mostly chosen that if I'm vulnerable. If I'm hurting, I just express it that this is where I am. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, does a leader, I mean, I thought a manager can look superhuman, but a leader can look normal and vulnerable. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I've still not figured out in my head whether I'm on the right track or not.
I think if you're listening to your intuition, and moreover, you are a transformational leader. And transformational leaders do embrace their vulnerability and they also express their vulnerability. And I think my thoughts are very clear that you're doing a fantastic job. So you're not taking the robotic method, you're not taking the structured approach. And that's what makes the connection so human. People connect with you probably because you are able to show that side of your leadership as compared to any other. So I guess it's working well for you, and I don't think you must even try to be superhuman. You're doing a fantastic job, Sudarshan.
Being human. Thank you.
Being human, but being vulnerable and embracing
Yes.
it. And you asked me this one interesting
Yeah.
question, which I will want to answer also about the kids in their adolescent age.
Yes. Yes.
Again, maybe you were talking about counseling and
Mm,
training, etc., etc. I think this is where maybe the kids should go through a one-on-one
mm,
procedure. Also, conversations on sex
mm,
education, conversations
mm,
on their body,
mm,
conversations on how the right touch and the wrong
mm,
touch. These are things that maybe they should be taught in a particular age group, so that they know exactly how they should go about things, because naturally they won't understand these things until and unless they're educated or enlightened about
mm.
it. And of course, I'm pretty sure you must be doing some work on that front. But sometimes the conversation becomes a shy one
Yes.
because everybody comes from that kind of a background where it's conservative in some way or the other. So everybody's not going to openly discuss
Mm,
these things. So it would be nice if you open,
mm.
there's a little window for them where they can have a one-on-one with people or somebody where they can actually discuss these things and get to the bottom of things, so that if there is any kind of a thought or challenge, it can be taken care of
Mm,
without much trouble.
mhm. Yes, it makes sense and also tells me why I should be connecting with you very soon to translate this idea into, a specific, at least experiential learning. Find a method with your help.
So, Darshan, I'm really looking forward to getting in touch with you and probably associating with SOS Children's Villages. And I have reached the end of this conversation. So, if you don't mind, it's my last question and it's my favorite one too. So, what empowers you?
So, as I was trying to say earlier, my own journey has been very ordinary, mediocre. I have struggled through passing exams in school and managed through, scraped through college literally. And life, when I was 15-year-old, the next 50 year looked like a big question mark and not sure where I was headed. Every milestone since then I consider as a blessing because I moved from strength to strength. And I believe this is something maybe very illogical. I'm not spiritual, so I don't go to temples. But I believe all the people I engage with and people to whom I'm being able to be useful or spread love, I think it comes back in a multiplier to me, and they're all out there blessing me and my family, and most of our well-being and contentment is derived from there. And I really very seriously believe this, that it's a very strong belief invested deep inside me, that we are what we are because of all the people around us who are wishing us well. So I'm very greedy that way, so I want to reach to more and more and be more useful so that the love multiplies and comes back to me.
What can I say that truly is empowering? And more importantly, I think humanity is your religion, which is much needed in today's day and age. If more people can think like you, be this kind of selfish that you are instead of the kind of selfish that most of us really are, it would be lovely. So Darshan, thank you so very much for being on the show. You've inspired me. I'm extremely happy that we've got such empowering stories out of your journey. In more ways than one, I think you've probably touched our listeners' hearts too. So thank you for sharing this compassionate journey of hope and vision, and wish you many, many, many more loving kids and lovely families and lovely, lovely foundations in the future. And we're going to get in touch with you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Don't call me, I'll you. Thank you.
So sweet. Thank you. Thank you, Sudarshan. Take care and wish you all the best and stay safe.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you liked this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
I hope you enjoyed that show. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money and Intel. It's been a really, really cool week on the network. We've had Ashwin Sanghi on Cyrus Says. We had Masaba Gupta on Advertising is Dead. You should definitely check out Vivek Lath, who showed up on Storytellers and Story Sellers. A close friend and partner of ours, Karthik Paricha, was on the Pragati podcast talking about the future of podcasting, which I think is really, really interesting. And I would like to ask people to check out All Things Policy and what they've been doing. They've been having some really interesting discussions about India's challenging relationship with China as we go forward. And I think that would be a great thing for you guys to check out. So with that, we hope to see you again next week.
Did I just catch you on your way to work? Or did you end up pulling an all-nighter? Let me guess. You have a packed schedule for the day, the week, and probably the month and the year. That's a lot for your mind to handle, don't you think? This buzzing chaos also brings tons of negative thoughts. Am I right? Try spinning that bottle in a positive direction with me, Chetna, on the Positively Unlimited podcast, every Monday on IVM Podcasts. It's time to change your life one alphabet at a time.